Okay, one of the most important things that your Regents exam will ask you to do is to be able to tell how multicellular and unicellular organisms carry out the same life functions. Because obviously, if you're made up of many cells, it might be a very different process or a very different structures that you'd use to carry out the same life process that can be carried out in a unicellular organism. So remember, multicellular, of course, means many cells, and unicellular means one cell. So, for nutrition, how might one multicellular organism carry out nutrition? Okay. Thank you for being so helpful. Okay. How might multicellular organisms carry out nutrition? What body system would you use? You would use your digestive system. And using your digestive system would help you to obtain the proper nutrients you need. What if you are not a heterotroph, or an organism that eats food? What if you are an organism that makes your own food? Photosynthesis, and that occurs in the what? The what? Yes, in plants, but in what organelle? The chloroplast of plants. Good. If you were a chloroplast, not plats, if you were a unicellular organism, how would you carry out nutrition? Diffusion, yeah, diffusion is a great way for unicellular organisms to get nutrition. Say there was like a clump of sugar and you were a unicellular organism and you really wanted that sugar, how would you go about embracing that clump and making it your own so that you could digest it into molecules that you need? Endocytosis. So remember, endo means into, and cytosis is how your cytosis is the process of using the cytoskeleton to draw something into itself. Transport. Now remember, transport is not walking from one place to another. That's locomotion. Transport is the movement of molecules within an organism. So how would that happen multicellularly in humans? How do we transport molecules and nutrients throughout our body? Do we have a body system that helps to move things around? Circulatory system, exactly. And once the circulatory system brings whatever molecule it is to the cells that need it, how does that molecule get into the cell? Diffusion. If you're a unicellular organism, how do you move materials throughout the organism? Oh yeah, diffusion, that's right. It's crazy how many different life functions can be accomplished with one simple process. Let's talk about respiration. A multicellular organism like yourself, how do you carry out respiration? What system do you use? Your respiratory system. Now, let me make this very clear. The British people call this the respiratory system. I would love it if everyone here started calling it the respiratory system, because then maybe you would spell it correctly. Most people spell it respiratory system. Respite is like when you need a break from something, so you go away and you separate yourself from that. Totally different from gas exchange. So respiratory system is how we accomplish respiration. So how would a unicellular organism accomplish gas exchange? Ooh, ooh, ooh. What could it possibly be? Yeah, diffusion! Let's talk about excretion. There are lots of body systems involved in excretion, so let's list at least 4. Digestive system, that's how we get rid of solid waste. What else? How do we get rid of liquid waste? Which body system? Come on, somebody in this room had to do it. With your kidneys. They filter your blood. Removes the waste. Goes through the ureters to the bladder. And the urine exits the body through the urethra. Excretory system. Yeah, that's pretty hard to come up with, considering we're talking about excretion here. Excretory system. Yup. Well, that's true. Plants do not have an excretory system. That's true. But on our regents, when they ask you these questions, they focus most on humans. So we're sort of doing both, but I guess with an emphasis on humans. Yeah. So digestive system helps us get rid of solid waste. Excretory system helps us get rid of liquid waste. How do we get rid of gaseous waste? We breathe, so we're using our respiratory system. That helps us to get rid of CO2. And the other waste product that we need to get rid of a lot is heat. So when you're really hot, what happens? You sweat, and what body system helps out with that? The skin, which is the integumentary system. Integumentary system. If you were a unicellular organism, how do you think you could get rid of waste? Diffusion, yeah, you could certainly use diffusion. And one other process endo is into exocytosis, right? EXO. Yeah, exocytosis. Sometimes I listen to you guys speak and you say things like ectocytosis, and then I think to myself, oh my goodness, is it ectocytosis? And all these years I've been thinking it's exocytosis. Am I wrong? And I start to go into a panic, and I do that in my mind, and I'm thinking that my students must know better than me, which that would be kind of sad, considering I'm standing up here and you're sitting over there. But anyway, let's talk about synthesis. Where does that occur? Well, your digestive system likes to digest things, which is breaking down. But where could we build more things? Pretty much any system in your body requires some form of building or some form of repair if it gets injured, right? So all body systems are responsible for some form of synthesis, and all body systems, and specifically what organelle within the cell would be most responsible for building something that would help your life functions happen, like an enzyme, for example. Where would an enzyme be built? The ribosomes. The nucleus would have all of the information necessary, but the actual proteins itself would be built within the ribosomes. So tell me, how would a unicellular organism build? Well, let's see. It might use ribosomes to make proteins, right? And then we have the endoplasmic reticulum and the Golgi apparatus, which help to modify those proteins and ship them off to wherever they go. How about regulation? Do you remember what regulation is? If you're regulating something like the flow of traffic into and out of a parking lot, what are you doing? You're controlling it. And would you like the parking lot to look like, say, a massive pileup of cars, or would you like it to be kind of neat and orderly? Probably neat and orderly. So regulation is, say, a body or a cell's way of keeping everything neat and orderly within that body or within that cell. So keeping everything working correctly. So let me give you an example. If you decide to go outside and sprint around the track, when you're done, will your body temperature be the same as it always is? No, it'll probably be a little bit higher. So how would your body respond to that to help your body temperature cool off and become normal again? You would probably sweat, which I'm assuming this wiping your arms off motion means. Okay, so you'd probably start to sweat, and that would help to get rid of some of the excess heat. What other things would be happening in your body? I'm not quite sure what that means. You'd be out of breath. Okay. So yeah, you'd be out of breath. Why? Because as you started running as fast as you could, what would happen to your body systems? Specifically your circulatory or your respiratory system. They start working harder so that your muscles have the oxygen they need. So pretty much all body systems are involved in regulation, but there are two main body systems that control the rest of them. And I'll tell you what they are right now. The nervous system, which I think you guys knew, but the nervous and the endocrine systems, these two systems are responsible for the control and coordination of all body activities. So these are two really important systems. And if you were a unicellular organism, you don't really have a system for regulation. More or less, if something gets out of whack, the cell typically dies. So there's no systems involved here, but all of the organelles work together, just like kind of all of our body systems work together. So all of the organelles are going to work together to help a cell maintain homeostasis. Okay. Next we have grow and develop. What systems are involved in growing and developing? We've got lots. Well, development is a lot to do with the reproductive, Development has a lot to do with the reproductive system, but let's just consider an organism after it's been born until it dies. So we'll skip that prenatal portion right now. So what systems in your body have to grow from when you were an infant? Not a trick question. I'm hoping they all do. I'm hoping. Although some of you I'm a little bit concerned about the nervous system growth. However, it must have happened at some point because you're here and functional. So anyway, all of your body systems had to grow. But some of your systems have more control over that than others. And in particular, your endocrine system will control how you grow and how you develop more so than your other systems. And if you are a unicellular organism, what is going to control your ability to grow and or divide? Think back to that lab we did with the, I want to say paper towels, but I don't mean that at all. Sandwich bags. That was called you measured two things. You measured around the bag, which was the what? Which gave you the surface area to volume ratio. So it's your surface area to volume ratio that more or less helps unicellular organisms determine when it's time to divide. And finally, we have reproduction. So obviously, your reproductive systems are going to be involved in reproduction. What's the reproductive system of a flower, by the way? Oh, it just said it. I meant, what's the reproductive system of a plant? The flower is a reproductive system, yes. Think about that the next time you take a whiff of a giant bouquet. And unicellular organisms, how do they reproduce? Does anyone know? Or what's going to impact their ability to reproduce? How will they know when it's time for them to make a new cell? Again, their surface area to volume ratio, which affects their ability to do what? To diffuse substances. So diffusion is very closely related to the life cycle of any type of unicellular organism.